If that doesn't look like Stalker to you, I don't know what does. Hi there, I'm Cole for Radio Times Gaming, and recently I had the opportunity to visit GSC Game World's offices in Prague for a 3-hour hands-on preview of Stalker 2: Heart of Chernobyl. I also had the opportunity to sit down and talk with technical producer Yevhenii Kulyk about the game, and that'll feature throughout this video. And straight out the gate, let me say this, Stalker is so back. Like many, I was very anxious when Stalker 2 was first announced in 2018, and more so when Russia invaded Ukraine. But GSC Game World have created something remarkable with Stalker 2, and a few hours alone was enough to tell me as much. The developers have struck a very good balance between accommodating old and new players alike. Make no mistake though, it is Stalker 2, not the originals, it is different. But you would hope so after 15 or so years since the last game. Crucially, they have not reinvented the wheel, with systemic and emergent gameplay that made the original so special, making a return, and then some. If you're worried things would be dumbed down for modern gaming sensibilities, fret not, for it is quite unrelenting with its difficulty, oppressive atmosphere, and makes no pretense that the zone wants you dead. But under whose authority, might you ask? Mine. I've played through the originals countless times and played every mod out there from Lost Alpha, Oblivion Lost, Misery, Gamma, Anomaly, I've done it all. And yes, I know about the Sunrise Suit and Cordon, so don't bother getting cheeky-breeky with me in the comments because I am a certified Stalker sicko. But before we get too carried away though, some context is required. As many will no doubt be aware, GSC Game World is a Ukrainian studio who have gone through unimaginable hardships since the Russian invasion of Ukraine in 2022. The developers at GSC Game World detailed their experiences living through this and opening their office in Prague, which suffered a fire in the server room as if they hadn't gone through enough, in the documentary War Game: The Making of Stalker 2, which I highly recommend you sit through. It's not an easy watch by any means, but we owe it to the developers who have fought tooth and nail to deliver Stalker 2 under the most stressful of conditions. I bring this up because whilst I did experience some bugs and some members of the press experiencing crashes, I think it's entirely acceptable under the circumstances, so I won't be commenting much on technical side of things other than this note. Besides, the original games, if we're being honest, were pretty broken at launch, but we love them nonetheless. But on to Stalker 2 itself. I got to play the first 2 episodes of Stalker 2, with episode 1 starting with a cutscene very reminiscent of the opening to Shadow of Chernobyl, with a lorry driving through a storm, lightning strikes landing all around. In the back is Skiff, Heart of Chernobyl's protagonist. With the storm getting stronger and stronger, the driver, Herman, crashes into a wall. Luckily, it's our destination. We've been tasked with scanning the zone with some sort of special scanner, and self-powered by a mysterious artifact Skiff is in possession of. Not much is revealed about these characters, or why we should even care, but the stakes are so high that I found myself immediately sucked in. After the short introduction, we take control of Skiff and find ourselves at the outer perimeter wall of the zone. Already we can see the effect anomalies are having on humanity's feeble attempts to contain it. Before I actually even made my way into the zone, I was struck by the otherworldly and bizarrely serene beauty of Stalker 2. In front of me was a grav anomaly that had ripped out a huge chunk of the wall, suspending the rubble in air, catching glints of moonlight. Powering all of this is a custom fork of Unreal Engine 5.1, affectionately known as 5.1.GSE, owing to the amount of work required to shoehorn it to GSC Game World's needs. Technical producer Yevhenii Kulyk shed light on the situation.
Yeah, so basically our engine now is based on 5.1.
Okay.
But we internally call it like 5.1.GSC because to make world this big, we had to adapt and let's say maybe rewrite and upgrade some tools that were provided by the basic Unreal Engine to fit our needs to create like this world.
In recent times though, Unreal Engine 5 has not performed particularly well on PCs, with issues such as shader compilation and traversal stutters plaguing most releases. Knowing that my playthrough was fairly smooth, though shaders may have been compiled by our previous gameplay, I asked Kulyk for more details on what work had been done to whittle Unreal Engine 5 into shape.
Basically to meet our expectations for example, for optimization, for Xbox and PCs as well, we made like a lot of changes to basically render threads, some CPU optimizations, a lot of RAM optimizations. So for now, we are pretty much close to finishing like the whole polishing process. So our aim is to provide the game that is running constantly in stable FPS and with stable performance all the time.
How well the game holds up on other PCs remains to be seen. I couldn't see what specs the PC I was using had, but the person next to me had a system with an Nvidia RTX 4090 inside of it. The game was running well on Xbox Series X at Gamescom though, which is promising. Proceeding forward, I dived straight into Episode 1, which serves as a tutorial for the game. This is Stalker through and through, and it doesn't hold back. Immediately, I was navigating anomalies, mutants and bandits as I carried out my scanning. Things predictably went south pretty quickly though, with scientists I was supposed to meet all being dead in their outpost. Upon exiting, a bloodsucker was waiting to greet me too. Eventually, I had reached the last spot I needed to scan, but not before the military showed up before they too were interrupted by a rude sniper. Such is life in the zone. During moments like this though, control is taken away from the player and a cutscene will play from the first person perspective. For a game that is as open-ended as Stalker, it feels a little at odds with itself. The sequences are well made and directed, it is just a little jarring at times to so suddenly have the control taken away from the player in a way more akin to Call of Duty. But after surviving the ambush, Skiff is happened upon by a mysterious figure and what look to be members of Monolith. Skiff is spared by the man and knocked out, ending Episode 1. Afterwards, Skiff wakes up to a blind dog nibbling his toes before he punts them into a grav anomaly. An amused Stalker who is watching on passes Skiff a bolt to navigate his way out of the anomaly field. From here, the game opens up and players are free to do as they wish in true Stalker fashion. Episode 2 takes place in a region known as the Lesser Zone, which feels like an expansion of the iconic Cordon area. Upon opening the PDA, it's immediately clear that the map is very different and much larger for players to get lost in and make their own stories. You will notice some familiar locales, but the ordering of them is all new. It looks magnificent though and is a source of pride for Kulyk and the rest of the team.
As for me, I'm really proud of, first of all, detalization of the map, because we barely used any procedural generation for this world, and everything you saw today and you saw in release is made by hand of our talented guys.
Unlike its predecessors though, the world of Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl has no barriers. In those games, you could aggravate enemies and run away to the next section of the map to evade them, but with an open world, I wondered if bandits would simply chase you down from one end to the other or if they'd back off before encroaching on hostile territory. Curious, I pressed Kulyk.
So it basically depends on the fraction, and it definitely depends on the monster time you met. So some of them are protecting their territory because our Alive system 2.0 is built first of all on several pillars. So first of all, they have the, let's say, we call it internally like offline mode. This is constantly some events are happening in the backend. So you may notice that during your gameplay, and of course you may notice like the results of maybe some firefights or maybe some mutant encounter that was attacked by NPCs or vice versa. So they have their, like, let's say, natural habitat areas, and some of these fractions or some of these monsters may roam around the map and try to catch the layers, and so there is constantly life in front of the player and of course behind their eyes.
After navigating the anomaly field, I opted to speak to the Stalker who found me. The dialogue system is more in line with what we'd expect from a Bethesda game rather than how the original works. There are multiple choices and quite often an option to initiate combat if you so wish. Skiff is quite a curt man though, so his dialogue options aren't exactly sprawling, but there's enough on offer to afford the player some real agency. But after everything goes pear-shaped, Skiff is looking for answer, and the kind Stalker points us in the direction of a nearby settlement. That didn't mean I wasn't going to spend some time stopping to smell the irradiated roses though. Episode 2 begins in broad daylight, and I couldn't help but gawk at the scenery once more as it was flooded by a warm glow. Also helping bring the zone to life is the immaculate sound design. The ominous groans of anomalies, mutants, and distant gunfire all help make the world feel like a living, breathing entity. The voice acting and performances are top-notch too. I played with Ukrainian dialogue, but the provided B-roll shows off the great English voice acting too.
Are you new here? Come on in, make yourself at home, but don't get too comfortable. If you need anything fixed, I'm your man.
With my PDA beeping away and quests to do, I made my way. On my travels, I came across an old settlement with bandits surrounding a house with a fellow stalker trapped inside. Visions of being harassed by bandits in previous games sent me in guns blazing. Gunplay is brutal, frenetic, and chaotic. It's definitely taken a page out of Stalker mod's Anomaly and Gamma. Oftentimes, it can be over as quickly as it started. The weapons feel suitably weighted, and the action of shooting is very satisfying. You really need to plan your shots and manage recoil. Ammo is scarce, but your bullets dish out as much damage as you take, so enemies can quite quickly go down with a well-placed headshot. But with the bandits now dispatched, the Stalker inside, Zorik, reveals his friend Gloomy is in trouble as well. Being the Stalker veteran I am, I foolishly agree to help them. A short way up the road is an old warehouse with around 5 or 6 bandits guarding it. Feeling confident after my last gunfight, I walk right up and take out the first bandit I see. Others quickly descend to where he fell and where they heard the shots. Soon I am met with a wall of fire and grenades landing at my feet. After a few false starts, I eventually managed to clear all the bandits and talk to Gloomy, who is suitably unimpressed, and also very unhappy with Zorik, who seems to have gotten everyone in this mess in the first place. This is a recurring theme in Stalker, and perhaps even more so in Stalker 2. Everyone is in it for themselves, and people won't hesitate to hang you out to dry. Quite often, you're commended for not getting involved or backstabbing someone. Morality doesn't keep you alive in the zone, bullets and your wits do. Eventually, I made my way to the town where the true Stalker vibes came to life, with people sitting around campfires, playing the guitar and sharing stories from their time in the zone. Night was beginning to fall, and the warmth of the fire made the unimaginable horrors of the zone melt away. But with the clock running down, I made my way to the local bar and spoke to barkeep Warlock, who pointed me in the direction of the Gaffer. After a brief introduction, the Ward, a quasi-military police faction that tries to contain and maintain law in the zone, made themselves known. They were very angry that some of their soldiers were killed and are looking for a man named Squint. It turns out this just so happens to be the very same person we're after. When you ask if you know them, the dialogue option is time sensitive. I made my choice before this ran out, but it could prove an interesting path if you didn't. From here, you can either help the Ward track Squint down, or help the Gaffer out before you find out where he is via other means. Being a true loner, sick of big government, I of course helped the Gaffer out with a few things around town. Doing these odd jobs, exploring and getting into scrapes, I was struck by just how much the game feels like Stalker Anomaly at times. Kulyk wore his inspirations on his sleeve.
Of course, we are watching the mod-making community and the amazing work that they done like through all of these years. We, especially for me, I'm playing like a lot of Anomaly.
Yes.
I'm playing a lot of Gamma, of course. And other than that, we have some of our colleagues that were basically the mod makers for original games as well.
Arguably, Stalker has been kept alive over the years by such mods. GSC Game World's already committed to creating a modding toolkit, but as we've seen with some games, modding toolkits these days aren't quite what they were in the past, meaning that projects can be quite limited in scope. Kulyk though wanted to ease any concerns.
So we're basically creating and preparing the very big toolkit that will be that will provide the mod makers with basically all necessary tools to create mods from like the smallest one to like big total conversions. So they can like just throw their all energy to create something like big. So
it will no doubt take some time for modders to create large-scale projects, so my attention turned to GSC for any future content. After Shadow of Chernobyl in 2007, we got Clear Sky and Call of Pripyat in fairly short order. I asked Kulyk if we can expect any similar sequel or prequel treatment.
I will not spoil that at this moment, sorry.
So it's not a foregone conclusion. And when asked about a new Game Plus mode where players could more freely explore the zone, Kulyk could be a bit more open.
We're currently in development of some kind of a post-launch roadmap, and I think we'll be able to share details like pretty soon.
Now, it wouldn't be Stalker without a big omission, and I was treated to the spectacle whilst returning to town after clearing out, my stealth skills aren't so great, a military base. Everyone ran into the cellar and Stalkers began to pass the time. Some sleeping, others exercising, many drinking. This moment alone felt far more alive than any of the prior games and highlighted just how equal we as the player are to the NPCs who inhabit the zone. Many games are power fantasies, which can be great fun, but it's so refreshing to play something that is truly challenging. The game never felt unfair. The zone is a dangerous place, and none of us, except for maybe Scar and Clear Sky, can survive its deadly emissions. No doubt you may find yourself in a hovel you may have thought was safe, only to have bandits seeking protection descending upon you. With the emission over, straight back into the zone. Even for an old-timer, I was constantly surprised. NPC behaviours and the like are quite different. One such instance was when I was waiting for a flesh to get closer to me before I blasted them with a shotgun. I nearly fell out of my chair when it instead leapt at me, almost killing me in the process. Not surprising though was when I was looking for artifacts in a cave and I panicked in sheer terror when a bloodsucker emerged from the darkness and I wasted all my bullets. I ran around dropping grenades at my feet. Somehow, with barely a sliver of health left, I pulled it off. The bloodsucker was dead. A few sausages, loaves of bread and bottles of vodka sorted out my health and radiation poisoning. It was Stalker. I walked away from my time with Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl relieved, impressed and in awe. With some luck and unbelievable resolve from GSC, we'll find the rest of the game holds up too when the game launches on the 20th of November 2024. But that's going to be everything from us today, folks. Thanks for watching. I appreciate this was a bit of a long one, but make sure you subscribe to Radio Times Gaming so you don't miss out a second of Stalker 2 content. We'll see you next time.